Hello and welcome to We Never Met, the podcast where I talk to interesting strangers every single week. And today we have Jon.
Hey.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
We literally just met just now.
That's right.
First time ever. And among other things that I don't know necessarily about you yet, I know you from MKE Drones,
yep,
which is your Instagram account, your website, where you do like aerial photography and video work.
Yes.
So I guess to start off, when did that whole thing develop?
Yeah. So back in, I believe it was 2016, I was kind of going through some stuff last night, just kind of looking at some of my old files. Back in around 2015, 2016, the paving company that I actually still work for, Asphalt Paving, so construction.
Okay.
I was the youngest guy there, you know, and they're like, hey, we should start using drones for marketing. And I'm like, okay. And they're like,
sure,
here, you do this. And I'm like, okay, all right, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
So, being the quote unquote techie kid there, whatever. So they threw that at me and we went out and got one. And, the first one we got wasn't great, and it was a good learning experience right away to learn how to start flying drones.
What was the first one you got?
It was a Unique brand, which is like with a Y, Unique, Y-U-N-E-E-C. Unique.
Okay, I've never even heard of them.
They're definitely not as popular as they were like even like 4 or 5 years ago. DJI is huge, and I'll get into that too. So that at least got my feet, got my feet wet in it and started going around flying some then.
Yeah.
And then as we got more serious about it, it was like, hey, we should think about getting a different, drone that's a little bit more capable.
Right.
So then we moved into a DJI drone that started things off. And then at some point in that whole time frame of starting to do that with work, I thought, man, there's a huge business opportunity here. And looking around online, I'm like, there's not a whole lot of this stuff in the area yet.
Right.
So I'm like, shoot, I should jump into this. So bought my own gear. Okay. And then it jumped into the whole the laws and all this stuff around it all with the commercial side of it. And that became an issue too, because back in 2016 and 15 especially, there wasn't really any good laws for drones for commercial.
Right.
So the only thing they had was something where basically you had to have a manned pilot's license in order to fly.
What?
A drone, yeah. Which is insane because
that's crazy.
For two reasons. Number one, that's a massive cost. People spend, thousands of dollars getting a pilot's license, tons of hours of flight time, in a plane with an instructor, and then on the ground, the ground school stuff too before that. So it's a massive process. And I part of me gets it. They didn't really know what they were doing yet with it all. That
sure.
was
They just want to put something on it. So not everyone's doing it.
And then, but the other problem with it is that a manned pilot may or may not be able to fly a drone, just like I can't fly a manned plane. They don't apply at all. They're completely different.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was so ridiculous. And so people were like, well, okay. And there were people who had crossover, had a pilot's license, maybe came out of the remote aircraft world, flying RC planes or helicopters and that stuff. And that was a good crossover for some of those people to be able to fly and easily jump into this new thing, making money, flying, some pretty large drones for movies and, early on stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then in 2016 was when the laws finally became reality to what they are today for commercial drones.
Okay. And
so I was actually one of the first people in the state to get certified for flying drones in under that new law system called Part 107. Yeah. I was literally the day they released it. I'd studied for weeks before. I walk into the testing center at 9 a.m. I think they opened at 8. Okay. And I know both the guys that were in front of me that went at 8 o'clock. I actually know both of them. And so I'm at 9 o'clock. I'm in there. Boom, knock this test out, pass. I'm like, all right, good to go.
Yeah.
So that started it kind of then. It was like, all right, well, got the gear, got the legal side of it handled, get the insurance. And okay, well, how do we make this happen now? What do I got to do? And that's the hardest part then is you have once all the pieces of the puzzle are in place, as far as that goes, it's, well, now I got to find work. I got to market myself and all that.
Yeah. And
so then that jumped into
how did that happen? All that.
I was fortunate that, on the construction side of things, my job was sales. Sure. So I was easily able to take some of that experience and go, okay, well, what's my target market? Where do I see this being used the best or the most, easily to just plug into different areas with drones. Right. So construction or marketing companies, stuff like that. And so I, at first I made a couple calls and I was like, well, I don't really have anywhere to send these people. I don't have anything to show them. So I was like, all right, well now I need to figure out, okay, I got to get some stuff put together, get some videos, create some photos, all that stuff. and then create a website. And then that way now I have a place to direct people.
Right.
And go, hey, go check out my stuff here.
Yeah.
If you like it, you want to meet? You want to, and so then I started doing cold calling, basically like on the phone, just straight up calling people. Hey, what do you think about, this? And it worked a little bit. I mean, it's cold calling. Like it's, the
success rate is probably low.
Yeah. I mean, some people don't call you back. Some people just don't care, but then you do hit some and then it takes off from there.
Right. So who were some of the first people that you had? Believe
it or not, one of the first things I did was I was in way over my head was a golf course.
Oh, really?
Yeah, up in Menominee Falls. And, like it wasn't even over my head as far as like just like flying and getting the video and all that.
Right.
It was like the amount of time that it takes to do a golf course. I've done more of them since. And now I obviously know like what I'm getting myself into, but it's like multiple trips to try and get all the whole shot just right, how you want the lighting just right, all that. And then when you have like 18 of anything, the post processing is an eternity. Yeah. Like when you're creating out like a real estate video for a home or a commercial property, it's one video. Like that's it. The golf course thing is like an eternity of editing.
What are they using those videos for? Just marketing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what they'll do is the ones I've done, they put them on the website. So then that way there's basically, if I want to check out the course, I can do a fly through cool. Like of each hole. Basically you can click on it and do a video fly through of each hole and see what it's like and kind of get a feel for it.
Wow.
So, and then usually I create one that's just an overview of the course too.
Sure.
So it just shows like the clubhouse and, like their driving area, whatever, and just kind of shows what the course overall looks like.
Yeah, because on your website too, it says you've done stuff for like the BBC. That's pretty major.
This was back in, I think this was 2017, I would say, so a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. They reached out. They were here shooting at Taliesin, which is Frank Lloyd Wright's house out in Spring Green.
Wow.
Which is like west of Madison. South of Madison. And they were shooting a special out there, like basically a 1 hour documentary about that house. And like, hey, we want to get a bunch of drone footage of it. So,
wow.
So I went out and shot for, I think, half a day out there with them. And it was one of my first production things I did. And they were really chill. They're just like, yeah, just go shoot. Like it was a small crew for them. It was only a couple guys there.
Oh, wow.
Basically a cameraman, a sound guy, the director, and the guy that was doing the voiceover, who was kind of like an actor, so he's walking around talking, doing voiceover stuff around the facility. And they're just like, yeah, just go shoot. And, we'll try not to step on each other. Like we're getting in your shots and you're getting in ours. And worked out great. It was pretty cool.
Well, that's pretty incredible for them to reach out to you.
Yeah. Yeah. The website for that stuff, my website's been big. That's how a lot of these productions, like last year I did one with JBL, the audio company.
Oh, cool.
That was actually an ad that had Giannis in it. And I didn't shoot him at all. He was a separate day. We were shooting all the stuff I was doing the day before.
Yeah.
But it was still cool to work with them on that. And they almost flew me out to Michigan to do another one, actually. Because they're like, yeah, dude, we've already, we've had some people do some of the other, because they were doing like different NBA stars in different cities doing videos with them. And I guess they had a couple bad experiences. Like, he's like, if I can afford to, I'm going to try and fly you out for this. Because he's like, this, some of these have been like less than stellar. And I'm like, hey, if you can swing it and I can swing it. And he ended up not getting back to me, which was fine, because flying with drones is fine, but it's a pain in the butt. So
that's what I was gonna ask. Like, what when you first started learning, what was like the hardest part to like flying a drone? Because I've only flown one. I'm a video producer, and I've flown one a couple times.
Yeah.
And but it takes like a lot of skill to get like the cinematic kind of shots that you want.
Yeah, so I always tell people, like, if you just want to go, because people are like, oh, how hard is it to fly a drone? I'm like, it's easy. Like, to just put a drone in the air, and just go forward, backwards, all that. It's simple. Like, it's fairly intuitive as far as the initial, like, how to use it goes. But where it gets hard is then, like you said, like getting cinematic shots, knowing what you need to get, and then executing that, like, with precision, like, where there's not jerky movements in the video clip, or where you're nailing that shot, and especially if you're doing single op, where like you're watching the screen to make sure that shot is dead on what you want, but you're also like avoiding obstacles like trees and power lines and stuff like that. And so on bigger stuff, I have done 2 operator. One of my larger drones will allow that, where you can have one person flying and one person operating the camera. So that way, if I'm flying, I'm just watching the drone and the guy on camera is worrying about that. But then you got to coordinate too, because on the camera, I got to tell him what I need him to do, like how fast he needs to be going, what direction, like all that. So you got to pre-plan each shot out and make sure you're both on the same page on it all.
Yeah.
So for me, I do mostly single ops just because I know what I want.
Yeah.
But there's definitely situations where you can't, like, you have to have 2 people there to get the shot done.
Right. And has there been like any terrible experiences with you where you have flew into power lines or like?
So I mean, anybody who's flown drones for any amount of time will tell you like they've crashed. Like it happens. Like it's not a matter of if, oh no, I'll never crash. It's when. Like everybody does it. And it's just how bad is it too, you know? Early on I had, just like when I was practicing, I had some the thing about drones is orientation always. So like if the drone's facing you, everything's reversed, so like that in your head, but if you're not quick enough, especially early on, like your first, half a dozen or a dozen times you go out, like it's not, you don't feel it right away. Yeah. You don't have a feel for it right away. And so I hit some trees with one, and that just totally bit it. Like the thing about a drone is if you crash from 15 feet up, they're pretty much screwed. Like
really?
Yeah. Any drone pretty much. If it's 15 feet up and it crashes, it's gonna break into pieces. It's just how many pieces. Like the difference between 400 feet and 15 is just how many pieces you end up with when you hit the ground. And it's been better especially in the last few years. Like I haven't had a lot, but there was even one last year with my larger drone where I was getting this shot, and I thought I was like maybe 5 feet off a telecom line, like a overhead phone line or whatever, and I was a little closer than I thought, and so I didn't like hit it, but my prop like touched it enough to break the prop off. And so it went into like this controlled descent where it just was or uncontrolled descent where it's just like kind of goes down, and it still did like $800 in damage, but so it sucks, but it happens.
They're expensive things to break for sure.
And sometimes they go without you. Anything that's your fault. I have one that had a power failure in the air. One of my Phantom 4s actually had a power failure, and you can't control that. The battery ejected is what I think happened. And then I have a friend who straight up had a motor failure on a quad where you got 4 motors. If one of them goes, it's done. Like there's not any redundancy with the motors. So if one of them dies, it drops like a rock.
Jeez.
So he had a motor. Like a bearing on a motor went, and it just out of the sky like that. So, some of these things are outside your control. You can try to prevent them. You can try to like check temps on motors and like make sure batteries are in and everything's good. But stuff happens at the end of the day.
Yeah. So what do you do regular photography as well? Yeah. So did you do that before you started?
Yeah, so drones? I did some in high school for sure, back in the film days actually, which was so hard. It's back in the day, like now it's so easy to take photos because like take it and you know what you got. Like you can go edit it and post and all that and play with it, but like you at least know, okay, this is kind of what I was wanting. I can tweak it later. Back when it was film, it was like you shoot and then like you wait. I didn't have a dark room. Like some people used to have dark rooms and stuff where they go edit their own stuff or I'm sorry, go develop their own stuff. But like you're taking it to like Walgreens and going, here you go. And then like a week later, you're like, ooh, these all suck. So I did some stuff back then. And then I actually have a music degree. So music was more my thing through college and all that. And then not until I got into more doing marketing stuff at work and all that I jumped back into photography and all that.
Yeah. What music? Like what do you play?
Yeah, so I'm mostly classically trained. Trumpet was my principal in
I used to play trumpet in high school.
So I played all the way up until probably 2 or 3 years ago when everything just got too busy with drones and all that, and I stopped playing, but I was still playing up until a couple of years ago.
So what was your ambitions for that? Like what?
Music education. Okay. Music teacher. Okay. And then so back when I got out of school back in 2008, 2009, back when the economy tanked, and so out of college, and so instead of trying to go into a grind for a music career, I was already working in construction, and I'm like, I'm just going to stay in this because it pays the bills, and schools are cutting programs left and right, trying to save money and all this. So I'm like, I don't want to fight.
And unfortunately, music is a lot of times the one they cut.
101, they're like, you're out. Yeah, we're going to cut back on our music program. We had 3 teachers. We're going to go back to 1, and they're going to have to figure it out. So I was like, I don't want to fight for a job and all that. So I just went back into construction, which I had been doing the summers in college. And stuck with that.
What about the trumpet initially attracted you to it? Like why did you?
So actually, this one's easy. My dad played trumpet, so I started when I was in 5th grade.
Oh wow, yeah.
So that's like 20 years almost, whatever, playing it. And my dad played trumpet when he was a kid, and so there was always like that. Oh, you should do that, And so I think I even got one from a relative or something like that, and picked that up, and yeah.
And then just went going
with it, yeah. And I was one of those kids that most musicians will talk about this similar experience. People that end up doing it in college and beyond and all that usually are the kids that like their parents didn't have to like crack a whip on them to practice.
Sure,
you just wanted to play. Like you just like playing. So you go in your, bass, whatever, and practice every night and play and just do it for fun.
Yeah. Is that what you did?
Yeah. I was always practicing and playing and just, taking lessons and then not wanting to do stuff the teacher tells you to do, but you still got to kind of do it.
Right.
And, so yeah, that was my.
Wow. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think was like attractive to you about playing music? Like what did you get out of it?
I feel like music's kind of a universal language. I mean, and I think that more than anything else, I think music is able to draw emotion out of people. Like just music has so much emotion tied to it in general. Like people, any song people listen to evokes feelings some way or another. And so I always have felt that like draw towards like music and just how it affects, me as a person or people in general.
Right.
And that kind of makes it almost a universal language that like you can listen to the same piece, whether you're from Russia or from here, and it's probably going to evoke a similar set of feelings. Like, this is trying to portray something of like anger or whatever. Like you can just kind of tell.
Right.
And so that's kind of what attracted me to music was, I had a good feel for it, and it was such a powerful thing.
Do you still use that kind of stuff now? Do you think in your work?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, when you watch a video, 50% of the experience is sound.
Yeah.
So when I, whatever video I'm creating, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm selecting the music and not my client. I do have a couple of clients that want to pick music, and most of them pick pretty good music. Occasionally you get one you're like, I don't like that, but whatever. Okay, you picked it.
Yeah.
And so I definitely use it as far as that goes to pick out and select music that has the right feel for the video.
Right.
And then timing video to music is also another thing that's important, like lining everything up.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess because there's like a huge influx of people flying drones.
Yeah.
What do you think did you think it's the perspective of like what you're getting? Do you think it's that you can just like buy this huge thing and fly? Because for me, what makes what you do so cool is that like, I feel like, there's a lot of people that can like you said, pop up a drone, take like a snapshot of something and then just come back down and it'll look cool because like, I can't do that. I can't get up there. But you do like really cool cinematic video shots. So I feel like, do you think that really is what it is that like people just kind of want the novelty aspect?
So yeah, I mean, there's a novelty in it just because again, like you can put it in the air, like you can get that perspective that's different from what like, now again, they are a lot more common, but you can get that different perspective than what most people are able to get or post. And I always tell people it's more than just that, because a drone is a camera. As long as there's not something else there, you can put it there. You know what I mean? Like even where we're at right now, like I can fly a drone 10 feet above a building where how are you going to get 10 feet above that building any other way? You're just not going to, you'd have to try and climb up there with a really tall tripod or something to get a shot. Like you can put a drone anywhere, even indoors. I do shooting indoors all the time with drones where even an architect called Zimmerman Architects, they did a video on their office space to try and win like the best office in Milwaukee award in 2018. And they did win it. And some of the shots we did, they have 2 floors, but it's a super open space. So we could easily use the drone to just transition from the bottom floor to the top.
You got to be really secure with your flying abilities, I feel like.
There was even one where they have, because the ceilings are so tall, like even their conference room like has just a wall that ends. So we went from in the conference room, flew over the wall into the kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
So you're like in tight spaces and stuff. So you do. And then even I had to fly in there at night, and with the drones now, they have positioning stuff on the bottom, like cameras and stuff, but none of it works in the dark. Like it's all just trash in the dark. And so then you're like 100% manual. Like the drone has no idea where it is in the dark. And there's no GPS because you're inside and all that. So, I think that's one of the best things about it is again, you can basically fly it anywhere. But then one of my pushes has always been like, whatever I see people doing, how can it be different? Like I don't just want to post the same, wide shots or the same things that everybody does. Like how can I make mine different from what, 95% of people out there are posting.
Right.
And then there's even people that are farther into that than me, that just, you see their stuff and you're like, holy crap, like, you know,
yeah,
that's next level kind of stuff. And those are the people that are probably in the end driving people like me to try and push that. You know, they're pushing an envelope and I'm seeing it and going, okay, I'm going to try and recreate this and make that happen.
Right.
And then that, you know, in turn later on down the road pushes other people to continue trying to do the same thing and
right.
push the limits and stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you think makes yours different and more appealing? Because you have, you know, from my estimation, done really well with this. And, you know, like the stuff you come out with is really great. So like, what do you think that is that's different?
It's a couple things. I mean, some of it has to do with straight up being able to fly and know how to fly
right.
properly and just get the right shots and having a lot of experience. I have hundreds of hours of flying now.
Yeah.
And having the experience to be able to get that shot and know exactly what needs to be. Some of it has to do with an eye, like, and it's not like I, you know, use the thirds on the, you know, the rules of thirds all the time or something. Like, it's just having a feel. Like when you see something on a screen, I don't always know what I'm after.
Sure.
But when I see it, I know that's what I'm after. Like on the screen, I look at it and go, that's right. Or I go, I should change it up and it needs to be a little more like this. And I'll go back and refly it and get that shot again. So some of it has to do with having an eye for it. And then some of it has to do with gear. Like, I mean, when you spend 15 grand on a drone, like you can swap lenses and you can have different focal lengths and all that stuff that, you know, 95% of people out there they have one focal length. They have a Phantom or a Mavic with a 24 millimeter wide lens, and that's all they got.
Yeah. I didn't even know you could swap them out.
Yeah. So my Inspire, you can put, I think I have 5 lenses for it. I can swap out between 12, which is basically 24. It's a micro 4/3 sensor, so you're cropped in and all that.
Sure.
But it'll go from that regular wide shot into like a 90 millimeter.
Oh, wow.
Really tight. And the problem with drones is the farther you get zoomed in, the more stability becomes an issue, because you're zoomed in so far that even if the drone moves a foot, you can see it easily. Like the camera's shifting, you can see all that. So the longer the focal length is on the camera, on the lens, the more stable you have to be.
What would you use that for? Like that?
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anything where you want to be zoomed in real tight, or you want to, like, so a classic example was the Bradley, and this is just one. Like, I've used it on cinematic stuff too.
Sure.
But one example where I used it was the Bradley Center when they imploded that.
Okay.
They put up a 1 mile no fly zone around that because they were using explosives.
Oh yeah.
So you couldn't fly inside of a mile.
Yeah.
Within a mile of the thing. So I went just outside of a mile, which was down by Memorial Park down here.
Okay.
And so it's right there. And I used that higher zoom lens to, you know, get up as high as I could and get a shot of the Bradley from a mile away.
Oh,
and it wasn't amazing. Like, it was still a little bit far, but I mean, you are not going to get the same shot with anything else.
Right.
Except the helicopter, probably.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.